I remember being raised up in the church, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, and being fearful of the concept of hell. And as I developed more into Christianity when I was like 12, 13, and 14, I was very much into the faith. I mean, like big cross, going through my Bible every morning, every night. I mean, like I was really invested in this concept of salvation. I made myself believe that I was God's holy and faithful servant. But as time began to go on, a big shift happened in my life, and something really gravitated, something gravitated me to a different concept of life. As I began to navigate through consciousness and through my own rediscovery of self-identity, I had to come back to the question, is hell even a real place? And in this video, I'm going to actually discuss with you in under 25 minutes. That's what I'm giving myself. In under 25 minutes, I'm going to tell you how hell is not a place to be scared of. Hold on. I just realized something. I apologize. How I even got that going on? Like what? In this video, in under 25 minutes, I'm going to tell you how hell is not a place to be scared of. Okay. And you're going to like this video. Make sure you like the video, but you're going to like this video. You're going to love this presentation. We're going to go through all the topics of discussion. I'm going to show you all my sources. We're just going to get to the nitty gritty of it because I was in my TikTok live stream, right? And as I'm discussing the concept of hell and all these different things, there was somebody in the comment section, basically talking about how she's fearful of the concept of hell. And I remember when I was 17, 18 years old, and that was the last thing that I had to deconstruct. I knew that the Bible was myth. I knew that the story of Jesus was myth. I knew that there was many different depictions and similarities of different gods for thousands of years. All that I had to do was come to the conclusion on whether or not hell was real. So I did my own research and I was looking up all this information. I was looking up mistranslations, all type of stuff. And we're going to get into that in this video. Okay. So first and foremost, let's deal with the topic at hand, right? Let's pop this up for us real quick. Hell is not a place to be scared of. All right. Now, this is what we are going to be discussing. And under these 25 minutes, we're going to be talking about what is hell to me? What is hell? Is it in the Bible? Why is it in the Bible? Why I believe in hell, or why people believe in hell in 2025? And what now? Like, what do we do about this after we deconstruct and, reanalyze this concept of hell? So, what is hell to me? Hell is a condition of the mind. Okay, when I was 17 years old, I found out that hell was not a real place. I realized that hell is a condition of the mind and the body, right? Heaven and hell is on earth. It is not somewhere in the sweet by and by up in the sky or down below the earth, right? When I was 17 years old, I had asked myself, how can a spirit burn? I asked myself that question. And to this day, it still makes sense to me that if energy cannot be created or destroyed, there is no possible way for my spirit to burn in hell or burn in any type of internal firmament. I would even ask the question of how can fire even exist in the afterlife? Like these different elements and things of what we conceive now in nature. You feel me? What makes you think that in the afterlife, we will have to be able to suffer? We're going to be able to be hungry, or just different things that we experience in the physical world. I would think that the spiritual world might be a little more advanced, in my personal opinion. But hell to me is a state of mind, right? It could be hot as hell. You could be cold as hell. You could be sick as hell. You could be mad as hell. Somebody could be raising hell. So hell, as we know, can be conditions of the mind and the body. We can deal with a brief history of hell. Okay. Dealing with the Hellenistic era is when you kind of get this reintroduction of Hades and this afterlife concept, right? And I'm studying this book called Sacred Disobedience. And so in the late antiquity era, you begin to have this development of Pan, right? This remixture of Pan, the cosmic creator, and he basically is being restructured as Christianity comes into play as being the devil. And so studying into that book, they talk about how with Zoroastrian, basically how there's that dualist mindset and concept. They even talk about the Axel era of Persia and Greece. So it's a very great book. I highly recommend this book by Sharon L. Cogan. I believe that's her name. Yeah, Sharon L. Cogan. But you get into like Justin Martyr, right? And we're going to talk about Justin Martyr in a few. He basically mistranslates the Bible as he translates it from the Greek into Latin. And basically from the people who took from the Latin, making it into the English, is where you get the concepts of hell, this misinterpretation, mistranslation of hell. But even outside of that, you got Dante's Inferno, that was created in the later medieval times. And the concepts and the imagery that is created through Dante's Inferno helped a lot with the concept of this eternal torment in the afterlife. And so, mind you, there was never a concept in the Hebrew culture of hell. Not one bit. And when I was 17 and I found this out, I was like, how in the world have we been duped into believing that hell is an actual place that happens in the afterlife, right? And then what's going on with all these people who have these NDEs and they talk about they went to see Jesus, they went to heaven, they went to hell, and all these different things. They're seeing celebrities. They saw Michael Jackson. So we have to understand that as time have progressed, this concept of hell has always been transforming. It has always been, mixing up and basically people are having different interpretations and different concepts for hell as time has went on. And so it hasn't been up until maybe the last 500 to 800 years that we have established this way of looking at hell. And then through colonialism and Western Christianity, we have this conception of eternal punishment. So just give you a little brief history there before we go any further. We got to ask the question, how in the hell did hell get in the Bible? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I had that question as well. So if you don't know, it was corrupted. Okay. The Bible, I don't know if you know this, and this might be a hard pill to swallow, but the Bible was corrupted. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I know that pains you, and this might be your first time hearing this. But the Bible was corrupted, right? The concept that we know in terms of hell, the word hell does not appear in the original Greek or Hebrew. Instead, we get concepts of Sheol or Gehenna or Hades or Tartarus. And this is what you see in the Bible. Matter of fact, 90% of the time where you see Gehenna shown in the Bible, it has been mistranslated to hell. So anytime that you mostly see Jesus talking about hell, anytime that you mostly see in the epistles or in the book of Revelations where it talks about hell, it's talking about Gehenna. It's talking about this conception of casting away that which is impure. And it's very interesting when you study the differences between Western Christianity and the Eastern faith, the Eastern Orthodox of the concept of Christianity. There's many different conceptions and interpretations for salvation, for this mystical union with God and all these different things. It's very beautiful when you look at it from different aspects of life, on the Eastern aspect. But overall, a lot of us have been conditioned to look at Christianity and life itself through this westernized lens. So most of the time, especially in the Old Testament, right? In the Old Testament, anytime that you see the word hell is mostly talking about Sheol. And so this was like a temporary, I want to say temporary only because there's different aspects to Sheol, right? There's this form of purgatory that a soul goes through if they were bad on earth, and they go through this temporary punishment so that they can become renewed or pure. And so Sheol, it was the afterlife condition for the souls, right? When they leave this earth, they go to Sheol. Another interpretation for Sheol is the burial place. In the New Testament, Jesus uses the land Gehenna, which I believe is around Jerusalem, which was a burning trash place. Some people even say that Gehenna was used as a place where people would sacrifice babies and people. A lot of stuff used to go on there. And basically it has turned, as time went on, it developed into a place where they would burn trash. So Jesus used Gehenna as a metaphor, as a figure of speech, no more than what we say, like, it's raining cats and dogs, or like that man was cold when he was stepping into the ring. He was bad to the bone, it's like things like that. So he used Gehenna as a figure of speech for getting his words, getting his point across. So this is just like a graph, right? This is just me showcasing to you what was going on, what has been going on throughout history from 1000 BC, okay, going all the way to the 1500s. And mind you, right, 1000 BCE is very much pushing it. I shouldn't even had put the Hebrew scriptures. I could have put like the oral, sayings in terms of the Hebrew scriptures, because Hebrew scriptures do not go back 1000 BCE. So that is on me. You don't really get I think the oldest transcript that you have of the Hebrew scriptures is like somewhere around 200, 300 BCE. So very young. All right. But you get into this concept of Sheol, and then you get into like the dualistic era, like I was talking about with the late antiquity era. Around that time, you get into the New Testament, and then they use the concept of Gehenna, and you also have this concept of the lake of fire. But with the New Testament is birthed in a Hellenistic era, right? Christianity coming out of Israel, and Israel is under the rulership of the Roman Empire. And so there's a lot of Greco-Roman themes that you see in the New Testament. Many church fathers profess that Christianity was used as this new vehicle to bring about, the way to be one with God. I read somewhere in this book called Greek Myths and Christian Mysticism, where somebody said that when it comes to like Greek philosophy and Greek thought, they told you about eternal life. But then when it comes to Christianity, they teach you how to obtain eternal life. So Christianity was used like that vehicle to obtain that everlasting life. You get into the 3rd to 4th to 5th century CE, and you have people like Tertullian and Augustine, who basically they started bringing about these concepts around eternal punishment, right? Eternal torment. This concept of if you deny an infinite God, then you deserve infinite punishment. And Augustine plays a very big part in the concept of like many different ideologies of what we deem today in Western Christianity, right? Christianity as a whole. Like I said, you get to the Latin Vulgate, which was created by Jerome. So that was around 4th to 5th century CE. That's where you get the mistranslations of hell. We get to the Council Constantinople. There we go. Constantinople, right? In the 6th century, the Council of Constantinople, he basically well, in this council, right? There's many different councils, many different theological schools during this time with Christianity. And one of the things that they were disregarding around this time was this concept of universalism. And so there were Christians out there that believed that in the very end of times, everybody's going to be saved. And they deemed this to be heretical. Okay. Now, I take heresy with a grain of salt because people deem me to be a heretic. So just because a set of people who have a state of religious authority deem a concept to be heretical or heresy doesn't mean that it's heresy. It's really just about political power and what they want to be the narrative for their faith or their religion. Then we get to the 1000s, the 15,000, 10, you get there, or 1500s to 1000s, 1500s. And, that's where, like we was talking about before with the medieval conceptions dealing with hell. And so this is just the event, just to give y'all, y'all can pause if y'all want to. This is just to give you a little information on the Second Council of Constantinople. So why do people believe in hell? That might be a good question that you're asking. Well, you have to understand that people have been conditioned for hundreds of years, from generation to generation, into believing in this concept of hell. This is how people control the masses. This is how people control a whole set of people based off of fear. Now, the Bible even says that perfect love cannot exist where fear abides, because love casts out fear. But it seems like the Christians did not get the memo with that. The church did not get the memo when it came to that. But people still believe in hell today because a lot of us, we have that deep conditioning from birth, from when we was raised up in the church. It's a fear tactic, and Christians love to fearmonger. And this isn't for everybody, but if everybody knows one Christian who does this. I mean, Christians literally on social media every day talking about the end times and coming, and you need to repent. They've been saying this ever since Jesus supposedly left. So this has been going on for centuries through many different, doctrines and sermons and traditions and a lot of media propaganda. And so they use this against people, and they've been using this against people, and they prey on people's emotions. And it's a really sick thing to see. It's something that, when I was raised up in the church, after a certain while, it didn't make sense to me, and it didn't sound right to me either. So what about NDE? Some people will say, well, I know a guy who said that he went to hell. I know a person, or I've read on these different testimonies, and people have went to the heavens, or they went to hell, and all these different things. And they said they saw Jesus. Well, this can be explained scientifically. And let me make a disclaimer. I'm not denying the spiritual world, but everything can be explained on a scientific level when you're dealing with these type of discussions. Now, I won't go through every scientific factor just for time, but one that spoke out to me that I always tell people for an example is DMT, right? So there's a DMT that is released. The brain releases DMT when you're experiencing like extreme stress, or, you're going through a death-like situation. And so you might see things, you might experience things, all these different types of matters. So what now, right? You may come to a point of now realizing that hell is not in the Bible. Hell doesn't exist. Hell wasn't a part of Jesus' ministry. Jesus was not teaching people about eternal torment or eternal punishment. Jesus was not going around talking about, you need to accept me and bring me into your life or you're going to hell. He was not talking like that, right? So what now? What do we do with this information now? Well, first and foremost, you need to be your own person. So you don't need to live in fear no more of, I need to get my life together, or I need to live according to the word of God, or else I'm going to go to hell. No, now you understand that God dwells within you. You don't have to subscribe to any other religion, anything that is outside of yourself, and you can be the best version, the best aspect of yourself. That is true freedom. Spread the good news. And I'm not telling you to go out and evangelize like how the Christians do. But if people want to know the truth, you give them the truth. If they don't want to know the truth, you keep your mouth shut and you just keep on living life. Right? But always be willing to give people the information that they are looking for. Always be willing to challenge people in their thoughts when the time is right. And so these are my sources that I would like to give to you for those who want to do their own due diligence and their own homework. These are the people that I learned all this information from, and I basically constructed all this information and all the graphs in my video. So, take your little screenshot. You can pause it, all that other good stuff here. But this is who I got all my information from, even from Bart. And I have my little mixed feelings about Bart Ehrman, but he had a lot of great information when it came to this level of information and knowledge. And so hopefully you got something out of this presentation. If you're somebody who is still currently deconstructing, right? If you made it this far and you are somebody who is still currently deconstructing, still dealing with your religious trauma, even if you're an atheist or a skeptic or agnostic, if you're somebody that is still questioning their faith, if you are well-on spiritualist, whatever you identify with, you still have a lot of ways to go, right? You still have a lot to learn and all that other type of stuff. And I want to personally hand you a deconstruction bundle. Now, this deconstruction bundle is not just about religion. It's not just about Christian gaslighting, even though my ebook is in that bundle and I'm talking about it's a banger, right? In this deconstruction bundle, this is not just about deconstructing religion, but it's also about reconstructing your life. So within this deconstruction bundle, I give you the 10 declarations for you as a non-believer, and I give you a literal step-by-step audio version telling you, reassuring you of who you are, stepping out of the faith, deconverting and deconstructing your faith. I give you a journal. I give you the literal tools on how to journal and how to keep up with yourself and how to really build a routine and your standards and your goals to be the best aspect of yourself. And this is what helped me out. This is how I generated over 20, 30, 40,000 followers within 6 to 7 months, building a routine and building a strategy for myself to become the best aspect of myself. I have a weight loss or gain tracker in there where you can track your weight, like a 21-day planner for you to literally be the best aspect of yourself. I have a way, I believe I have a food planner in there as well to help you if you want to plan your food out. I have it all. It's all up in there. I have a 21-day planner for you. Just be very hyper aware of what you give your time and attention to, just so that you can be the best aspect of yourself. And that's what I want to give to you. And so it's a $25 bundle. The link is in the bio. Or in my bio, it's in my description box, right? And you'll see it. It's going to say Deconstruction Bundle. You click on the link. It's going to give you even more information than what I'm giving you right now. And I want to give this bundle to help people find clarity in life, to find contentment in life, to really be happy with the life that they're living and the person that they are in this world. Because I just know what it's like to be in this world, and you got to go through 4 to 5, 6 different years of finding different religions and going through different things when you can just be yourself. And that's what I put into this bundle. I made this bundle so that I can help people out there truly come to the realization of who they are and come to terms with themselves and the things that's going on in their life. And with everything in that bundle, from learning how to combat Christians who try to gaslight you, to back on your level, getting back your life back, and basically re-identifying yourself and rediscovering yourself and building a routine to be the best aspect of yourself. All of this is in the bundle. This is how you can truly become the best aspect of yourself, and you truly can transform your life. And within 21 days, bro, this is scientifically proven. If you focus in and stay disciplined for 21 days, you can be a whole different person. People talk about it takes 6 months, it takes 3 months, it takes a year. It could take literally 21 days for you to be the best aspect of yourself and watch change happen in your life. So go ahead and get that bundle for you. Go ahead and hit and click the link in my bio and get that bundle. I'm the Omnius Rome. You'll go ahead and check out my other deconstruction guide over here. Well, no, over here. Check out my other deconstruction guide. That was a banger as well. I'll see y'all in the next one.